Python and R are the most widely used languages when it comes to the field of data science. So you would have heard of both of these languages and must be wondering which language should I start off with first? Well, we have brought this video on Python versus R so that you can understand which should be your go-to language.
Before we get started, I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy, a free initiative by Great Learning. You can access over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on trending high demand domains absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion. Check out the link in the description of the video below. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you do not miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing. So make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video if you have any queries or suggestions, and I'll respond to your comments.
So let the battle start. When it comes to R, it is known as the language of statistics. So R is a language which was developed by statisticians for statisticians. If you want to do anything in the field of statistics or with exploratory data analysis, R should be a go-to language. Now let's understand the speciality of Python. So Python is an extremely versatile language. With the help of Python, you can do web development, game development, and you can also build ML algorithms. If you're looking for a specific language in the field of stats or EDA, then your go-to language should be R. But on the other hand, if you're looking for a more versatile language with which you can do a lot of things, then Python should be a go-to language. Now, let's compare their speeds. So simply put, Python is much faster than R. So if we take two for loops and if we run these two for loops, then the Python for loop would be at least 1.2 or 1.5 times faster than the R for loop. Now let's also compare their libraries. So R has a huge repository of libraries. Whatever your purpose is, R produces a library for that. If you want to do data visualization, R has a library for that. If you want to do data manipulation, R has a library for that. So R actually has more than 10,000 libraries. And this is where Python pales in comparison with R. Python does have a lot of libraries, but when compared to R, those libraries are just not enough. Now let's also compare on the metric of visualization. So here again, R's visualization or R's graphics are much better when compared to Python. So R has these wonderful libraries called as ggplot2 and plotly, with the help of which you can make beautiful graphs. On the other hand, when you have libraries such as matplotlib in Python, so matplotlib is a library which pales in comparison with ggplot2 in R. So if you'd want to make beautiful graphs, then R should be your go-to language. Now let's talk about deep learning. So deep learning itself is a new field, and all of the deep learning frameworks such as Keras and TensorFlow, they have been written or they have been built on top of Python. It's not as if these deep learning frameworks are not present in R. These deep learning frameworks are present, but they are just coming up. So if you'd want to do anything with the field of deep learning with an absolute ease, then you need to have a good command of Python. So deep learning is a field where Python is a step ahead of R right now. Now let's compare their community. So both R and Python are deeply loved languages, and there's a huge community for both R as well as Python. But since in the market right now, the popularity of Python is taking off, in the next 5 to 6 years, maybe the community of Python would be much bigger than the current community of R. Now, the most important part, let's understand about jobs and salaries. As I've told you, since Python is a versatile language, you can apply for a lot of different jobs if you have skills in Python. So if you know Python, you can probably be a web developer, you can be a game developer, you can be a backend developer, and you can also go into the field of analytics. And also the pay package when it comes to the Python jobs is quite good. And since I've told you that R is a very specific language in the field of statistics, so let's say if you're a PhD holder or if you want to use a language for the purpose of academics, then this is where R is widely used. So all of the research papers in the field of analytics or data science or AI, R is much more preferred than Python. So you have looked at all of these comparisons. Now let's actually implement R code and Python code. So first, let's go ahead and implement R code. So what I'll do right now is open up R Studio. So guys, this is R Studio and this is where we'll be implementing our code. So we'll actually be building a scatter plot and we'll be building the same scatter plot in both Python as well as R. Now, I've told you that there's this library called as ggplot2 for visualization. Let me open that up. So here I'll write down library of ggplot2. Now, with the help of this, I am going to make a visualization on this data set called as iris, and it has all of these columns. So here I will be mapping sepal length on the x-axis and petal length on the y-axis. So I'll just write down ggplot data. So here you see everything is very intuitive. On the data layer, I am mapping this data frame, which is iris. Then I'll go ahead and use AES, which is aesthetic. So on the x-axis, I am mapping sepal length. So I'll just write down sepal length over here, sepal dot length. And on the y-axis, similarly, I will map petal length. Let me write down the spelling properly. So this has to be petal length. So I'm mapping this particular column onto the y-axis over here. Now, after this, I would have to make a geometry. So to make a scatter plot, I have this function called as geom_point, and this is what I'm using. And let's say if I would have to add colors to the points, let me just add COL and I'll set blue color over here. So as you see, I have created this beautiful scatter plot between these two columns. Now, let's say if I would want these colors to be determined by this column over here, which is species. So what I'll do this time is, instead of adding color over here, I will be using color as an aesthetic. So here I'll put in a comma and I will have color over here and I will map the species column onto the COL aesthetic. And let me hit enter right now. So you would see that I have three different colors for three different species. I have this pink color for this species over here, which is Setosa. Let me actually zoom this image up over here. So as you see, I have this pink color for Setosa. I have this green color for versicolor. I have this blue color for virginica. And finding inferences from this is extremely easy. So here you would see that the sepal length and the petal length for Setosa is the smallest. Similarly, for virginica, the sepal length and petal length is the maximum. So this is how we can build a beautiful scatter plot in R. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing in Python. So I have Jupyter Notebook opened up over here, and to do the same things, I would require some libraries. I would have to import pandas. Let me write down import pandas as PD, and this is a library which is used for data wrangling. And I would also need matplotlib, with the help of which I can make a graph. So here I would write down from matplotlib import pyplot as PLT. So pyplot is a submodule in matplotlib and I'm importing pyplot with the alias PLT. Similarly, I'm importing pandas with the alias PD. Now, pandas has this method called as read CSV, with the help of which I can load the file. So I'll write down pd.read_csv. Inside this, I'll give in the name of the file, which is iris.csv. And I'll go ahead and store this in the same object, which is iris. Now, let me show you the head of this. So when I type in iris.head, this will give me the first 5 records of this. Now, if I have to make a scatter plot, this is what I'll be doing. So I'll write down plt dot scatter, and I'd have to map something on the x-axis and on the y-axis. So here I'll write x is equal to, here I will set, let's say, so here on the x-axis I am mapping iris, and I would need sepal length, so I'll write down sepal dot length. Then I would have to map something on the y-axis, so here I'll write down y is equal to, I will give in the name of the data frame first, which is iris, and then I will give in the column name, which is petal dot length. So here it would seem that I would have to remove this column, right? So iris sepal length and iris petal length. Now let's actually go ahead and run this, and let's see what would be the result. So as you see, I have made this scatter plot over here. But the problem with Matplotlib, as you see, you don't have any of the labels directly. So what we did in R, you would see that we have petal length, sepal length, species. So all of these legends and all of these labels have come over here directly. But when you're using Matplotlib, you would see that you'd have to manually add these. So let's say if I would want to add a X label, here I'd have to write down plt.x label, and here I would set, this has to be sepal. Let me write down sepal over here. And you would see that I have manually added sepal over here. So you can clearly see that when it comes to visualization, R is much better than Python. So my idea over here was to give you guys just a glimpse of the syntax of both R as well as Python. So folks, this is all with respect to this video on Python versus R. Now it's totally up to you which language you'd want to start. But we'd recommend you to learn both of these languages if you want to get into the field of data science, because both of these languages are equally important. So there'll be some projects where you'll be working with R, and there'll be some projects where you'll be working with Python, and the syntax is mostly similar. So we'd recommend you to learn both these languages, and both of these languages have their own advantages. So thank you very much guys, and have a great learning ahead.
I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy, a free initiative by Great Learning. You can access over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on trending high demand domains, absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion. Check out the link in the description of the video below. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you do not miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing. So make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video if you have any queries or suggestions, and I'll respond to your comments.